My name is Sharon Gotlieb. I am the co-founder and CEO of Shela Health. Shela Health, what is Shela Health? In a nutshell, Shela Health provides a new maternity journey for pregnant women, of course, and we're about to redefine this journey. Why is Shela here? 2024 and still 25% of pregnancies entail a pregnancy complication. Not only a pregnancy complication, but also a severe pregnancy complication. Why? Why should we women suffer throughout pregnancy with severe pregnancy and complications that not only impact us as women, also the newborns, and not only for the short term, but also for the long term? So that's kind of the key challenge. Not only that it's a health issue with health equity complications attached to that, implications attached to that, it's also a huge economic burden. We're talking numbers in the US. Pregnancy complications cost the system, the health system in the US, close to $32 billion annually. I'll repeat that again, $32 billion. That can be so much lower. This is a number that we need to think, to keep in the back of our mind and say, how can we drive these numbers down? So that's kind of the objective and why we build and create Shela Health, to drive the numbers down, to make sure women have a healthy, safe pregnancy journey for them and for the newborns. Standard of care is a very broad definition. Who? What are they entitled? What are a woman is eligible for throughout their pregnancy journey? And you see it kind of change from country to country, from health insurance to another, from what they're entitled to. And I'd say that, again, it depends on culture. So for Israeli women going through pregnancy, literally you'd see a woman have her meeting with her OB-GYN very early. In the US, you'd see it later on. And oftentimes in the US, you'd find women who meet their clinical team maybe only when they deliver, and sometimes too late to deal with the challenges, to deal with the complications, to make sure that we could have maybe prevented the complications from occurring. So it's when and how it is very different from one woman to another. And the course of it is several, I'd say, visits to a clinic during the pregnancy journey, in which a woman goes through testing, lab results, lab tests, clinic visits, clinic measurements by a nurse, by the physician himself. So again, very different from one structure of operation to another. And what we're trying to provide in Shela is to make sense to identify each operational process, the way they kind of manage and the way they work, and bring in a solution wherever it makes more sense to fit in as early as possible, as where the woman is, to meet the woman where she starts this journey, rather than just chase her tail or not meet her. And we're also thinking very innovative of ways to kind of have that dialogue, have this discussion, this companionship with a woman, and that are things that we're going to see that may change the way the process is managed in the future. So how does our model work, and what is the Shela platform? So the Shela platform basically is based on cutting edge technologies and a cutting edge biology multiomics approach. What we do is a combination of clinical data, biological information, we mesh them together, we shake them out, and ultimately we have a risk score. The ability to determine whether a woman is at a risk for a specific or a combination of pregnancy complication, that's one. And not only that, but also provide the precision-based recommendation of what should her prevention pathway, her medication, if there is needed, pathway, personalized approach. So the way it works is we can start by a simple digital interaction, a digital intake, which a woman can get to her mobile app, her PC, her whatever it is, a text message to a link, click in that, answer simple set of questions. And based on that, there are questions that a woman knows to fill in. Some are measurements, some are demographic information that can be filled in or can be also automated. We'll get to that somewhere down the road. But then based on that, we basically have the first step completed. That's kind of where we get the risk score of whether a woman is detected with a risk, yea or nay. And based on that, we continue on the specific, precision, personalized journey where we send the woman to a specific biological test. Based on the condition, based on the complication, we're able to determine what else is needed to be checked and examined. So we don't have a cookie cutter solution. We don't send everybody to do everything, or we send nobody to do nothing. We have it specifically and tailor-made. So if there's a specific complication potentially on the horizon, we'll know how to deal with that. If there's no complication, we'll also acknowledge that, continue monitoring, but in a more kind of, I'd say, less, stressful manner. Just continue tracking the pregnancy throughout the regular process. And what we basically also provide is for the clinician are the decision-making kind of tool, supporting tool to say, I have the ability to kind of identify super early on through pregnancy who are the women at risk, if at all. Which upon in today's current state, that is not something that you can do with the tools and the way the mechanism is built today. So if it's not a high risk where women identified by the standards of care today, we provide the additional layer, the additional support. It's kind of a network for the clinician saying, those that were missed, not on the radar, we can spot them early, provide the right prevention, the right support for them, and we've got it covered for you. So that's kind of how the platform works. We combine multiomics approach, which is blood biomarkers, additional metabolome, microbiome testing. So again, super cutting edge, very specific, very precise. That's the way we work. So my company is based in Tel Aviv, in Israel, and we have our co-founding team brings basically the intersection of all disciplines coming from best of all worlds. So top researcher in the field of multiomics for the first 1,000 days of life, which is Professor Omri Koren. We have our chief medical officer coming out of Sheba Hospital, which is considered to be one of top 10 innovative hospitals in the world. Dr. Tzul leads the Women's Health Innovation Unit. He is a high-risk pregnancy physician expert, and our chief data officer is one of the leaders in the field of providing new models and algorithms for health, and specifically the expert in women's health. So as you can see, amazing team coming out of Israel with strong technology, amazing data that we are supported by, and the fact that we can create this solution for women, as we are also a very predominant, I'd say, birth advocates and family kind of focused culture in Israel. So there's a need, there's a global need, and that's where we feel that we can bring the solution from this childbirth approach and data-driven country. Our target market, I'd say, is the US for, I'd say, the obvious reasons. First, because if you look at where the challenges are today, the US, unfortunately, is dealing with a severe, serious crisis. It has the highest records of maternal mortality rates since the 60s of the previous century. The numbers are, unfortunately, again, not going down. So more crisis in events, more women undergoing pregnancy complications, severe ones, of course. Numbers are just driving up instead of down, both from the numbers of the women and from the cost perspective. So with our technology and our capability, we think that we match the US needs today, if not yesterday. And not only that, that we feel that our model can also fit into the operational process, the way it's structured. So really to be part of the fabric with the right model, with the right request, with an affordable way and easy and intuitive. So ultimately, we're going to start with the US. And US is not the only country that we're looking at or the only area. Of course, this can support, I'd say, all women, no matter where they are and no matter what they're facing. And I'd say that we're going to look, of course, also into Europe, Asia, Africa, which is on the rise. I mean, they're dealing also in Africa with high numbers of pregnancy complications, very rural areas. They need that support. Every woman needs that support. So for us, it's yes, US, but not only. We want to bring the solution to as wider population as possible, to as many women, to as many clinicians, to bring better health for women, starting with pregnancy. We are lucky to say that we have one of the largest data sets in the world for in the maternal space, and we have already models that are ready. So we have them. They're not in the type of development or evaluation. We have, I'd say, up and running models for preeclampsia, preterm birth, gestational diabetes. We've been validating and calibrating the models on very different and very diverse populations and demographies across the world. I'll say that we're now in the works of doing the same calibration process for US, for American population, which is very important. And once we have that kind of structured and completed, we will also begin to have our conversations with the FDA, with the regulation. That's something that we're already engaged in. We have it set and structured. We've identified kind of the route. And once we receive the approvals, the FDA approval, we'll be able to go into the market, provide our wonderful solution, and basically commercialize our product. So we're now in the process of a pre-seed round, mainly focusing on the market access to the US. That's our priorities, getting the regulation ready, getting the approval, preparing ourselves from a market integration process with the right design partners, with the right solution, with the right platform. So if it's that, so that's kind of the objectives. Of course, the validation of our models, that we make sure that we hit the numbers and the accuracy level that we've provided up until now, to make sure that it's maintained and kind of stable and ready for US usage. So these are kind of the milestones that we want to kind of reach with the funding with this pre-seed round, clinical study, foundations to future validation, and the infrastructure of getting it done, making sure that it is part of the process. I'll give you also the background, I'd say my background story for why I'm here and what's the purpose, why I'm driven with this purpose. I come from many years of health in innovation and the connectivity or the intersection between innovation and health. And just a random post that I came across was around who wants to establish the femtech community with me. And that was a aha moment for me. When I understood that all my years in health and innovation, I didn't know more or enough about the challenges that we as women go throughout our lifelong journey. And the more I read about women's health and femtech, I felt that this is exactly where I want to be, where I want to move the needle. And specifically for pregnancy, which is the most amazing journey for a woman, for a couple, for a new family. When I understood the numbers, the impact, the complications, the fact that it hasn't been changed for so many years, and we're actually getting the same treatment, the same pathway for so many years without embedding, without integrating new capabilities, new technologies, that's where I said, this is where we should look at things differently. That's why we built Shela, myself together with my amazing co-founders and team, to bring in core technology, deep tech, deep science, to provide something new, fresh, that will redefine the maternal journey.